Hi guys, welcome back to Keith's Garage. Thanks for joining me. I'm Keith, this is my garage, and we play with old Mopars here. Today, this is part 2 in a mini-series I've created where I've been chasing down a cracked cylinder head, leaking coolant. In the previous video, I took the head off and I go walk through that and you can watch it. In this video today, we're going to test valves for leaking in the car. So you can see if you need to do a valve grind or at least a valve lap. We're going to clean a carburetor today. We're going to put the carburetor in the ultrasonic cleaner that I bought and leave it in there for a few hours and see what that looks like when it's done. And we're going to work on getting the cylinder head back on. And unfortunately, I hate to tell you, but there's going to be a third part of this. But there's something exciting in this video you're going to want to see, because I've taken a smaller cylinder head and put it on my engine. So stand by for that. Here we go. Keith's Garage. All right, there's one more bolt on the bottom side of the manifold right in the center. It's the toughest one to get out. And I think I got it, but we got her. So now you get a really good view of what's required to do either a valve grind or a valve lap. Makes sense to lap the valves while we're in here. Why not? All right, I'm going to check for valve seat leakage. And what I'm just going to do here is I've got my number 1 piston here top dead center on the compression stroke there. And I'm just going to take a syringe with some kerosene in it. I'm going to drip it around there and I'm going to get a flashlight. I'm going to look in these ports, see if any of the fluid is leaking out. If it is, I got a valve lap. All right, I've got 2 important tools here, flashlight and some kerosene in a little syringe. And I've got number 1 piston at top dead center. Both valves are closed. I'm going to put a little bit of kerosene around the valve seats here. Give it a minute. And then I'm going to look in through the port here. This is the exhaust port, this is the intake port. The intake valves are the large ones. Exhaust are smaller. I'm looking for kerosene dripping down, showing up in the bottom of the port. It's not, it looks good. I'm gonna do that for all 6 cylinders and see if I have any valve seal leaks. Looks like we have a little leak at the back. Number 6 exhaust. Here's number 2. We've got moisture in number 2. Both on the intake valve and the exhaust valve. Well, I guess I'm doing a valve lap. So after checking them all and confirming a couple times, I redid a couple, I've got number 2, intake and exhaust leaking, number 4, intake and exhaust leaking, and number 6, exhaust only. So I'm going to have to remove the valve keepers and pull those valves out and lap them. I'm going to do that. I might as well take the inner fender out on that side over there. It's much easier to sit under the car and work on the valve train and get those keepers out. Keep an eye on them. And you've probably seen me do this before, but I love showing off this part of the car. It really doesn't get a whole lot easier than that for a flathead 6 to be able to access the valves. I love the Chrysler engineers who came up with this. All right, so you ran out, you got yourself one of these for an L head. Valve spring compression tool, and you're gonna rush in there now and compress the valve springs and take out retainers, right? No, not yet. Down in your engine here, right here at the back, right there's a hole that goes right down into your crankcase. Another one up here at the front. You can actually see part of the camshaft there, and there's one in the middle behind this strut here in the block. And you're gonna get some paper towel and you're gonna fill those holes up so you don't drop any of the valve keepers down in your crankcase, because that's probably gonna happen. It's Murphy's Law. It happens. So just also recommend you suck the oil out of these pools. So when your valve keeper goes in there, you can find it as well, because they do disappear. They're funny little things. This is why you're putting paper towel in there, so these little keepers don't go flying. But shh, don't tell anybody. So when we're lapping a valve, we're cleaning up that sealing area. Maybe this is obvious, but some of you folks may be new to this, so I'll show you the surface area. So by lapping the valve, we've cleaned up this nice little chrome, not chrome, but shiny steel looking seat. And on the valve stem, see the nice little polished surface there? All the way around, nice even line in the middle of the valve seat area there. That's gonna sit nicely in the seat again and seal it properly. I would like to point out, folks, that this is a lower mile engine and there's not a lot of valve leakage here. It's a small amount, and I'm going to attribute it to carbon buildup. Just packed material like carbon in behind here on the valve seat. I'm not attempting to perform a full valve grind here at home right now. I'm just putting a little bit of lapping compound on here, and I'm spinning the valve in its seat just to clean it up, shine up the surfaces, make sure they seat again, both the intake and the exhaust. And we're not putting a ton of lapping compound on there. We're not taking a drill to this. Do not use a drill bit and try and spin this at high speed. You don't want to do that. I'm just cleaning up the surfaces so we get a good seal. All right, you can see I've done number 2. I've done both intake and exhaust. See the nice polished rings here on the valve seats, as well as on the face of the valve now. And we're gonna put these back together. You should do a good job keeping everything clean, wipe out any of the lapping compound. Yeah, this is probably my best example of good even valve seat wear. See the 2 frosted rings there on the valve seating surface? Nice even on both the intake and the exhaust valve. Of course, that's after. All right, so I have lapped 6 valves and reinstall the springs, put them back together. You got to check your work, right? So you need to do the test again with the solvent and check for leaks. And there's no point in assuming you've got them just because you lapped them and that they're good. Oh, uh-oh, what's down there? Look at that. That's a fail. That is not sealed. So I'm human, and I've done this. This is probably my third or fourth time doing this on a flathead engine. And every time there's a couple that just don't reseal when you first lap them, put them back together. I'm gonna lap that one again. And I also already checked before I turn the camera on, number 6 at the back still isn't sealed. I'm gonna do it again. And I think the reason for that one is it's the hardest one to get any movement on. It's tight back there against the firewall, and you're working the lapper, and it's difficult. So I'm doing it again. Live and learn, right? It's experience. There's your valve clearance. There's where it's supposed to be, 10 thou. Let's exaggerate that. Let's pretend that's 10 thou in your valve, at the end of your valve clearance there. Now the valve starts to drop because it's wearing at the top. It sinks down. Now your valve clearance is here. That's a game changer. That's called valve recession. All right, so we're gonna do an experiment here. I've never seen a video on this. Maybe there's one out there. I've never done it. I'm not sure what to expect, but I've got a new cylinder here. It was a used one. I took it to the machine shop. It's been crack checked. It passed. They hot tanked it, and they milled the top surface here, so it's completely square. He said there was a little bit of pitting. This is about a 1949 Canadian built 218 engine, so it's 25-inch long block. This is what came out of my 1938 Chrysler engine. It currently has a 251 cubic inch engine in it, 25-inch block. I took a wire brush here to the combustion chamber, cleaned out as much carbon as I could. I'm going to put a spark plug in each hole so they're the same, just to simulate, real working conditions. It has a spark plug in there, and I also don't want oil dripping out all over my workbench. That's not going to work. And we're going to measure, and we're going to put oil in each combustion chamber and see what the differences are. Now, I don't know if this head has ever been milled, but we know this one is. He figured he probably took around 20 thou off of it, I believe is what he said. So let's see what we find here. So let's find out. I got a syringe here that each time I fill it up, I'm looking at 60 millimeters, and I'm just gonna put some oil in there and see what it looks like. $60 mil, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna call that full. It's 100 mil. It isn't perfectly level, it's just starting to drip over the edge there. There's 100 mil in there. This one right here. 60 mil. Pretty darn close to full. Here's 85 milliliters in there and 100 in that one. 85 milliliters, 100 milliliters. I wonder what that's going to do to my compression ratio. Well, we know it's going to go up for sure. How much, I guess we're going to find out. We'll take the compression test after we install. Checking flow in my cylinder head. No, actually, all I'm doing is I'm rinsing out all the epoxy sanding, because this cylinder also, the cylinder head looked like the last one that I had to repair as well. Pretty heavy rusting underneath the gasket. So I filled it up with JB Weld and I block sanded it down, and that's what's left. So I just want that to have a good sealing surface here. Other than that, this head is ready to go. I'm gonna put that in there, and I just clip it to the side of the basket. I've been buying my kits on line from a guy called the Carburetor Doctor. He's in British Columbia, Canada. That's where I am. I'm pretty happy with the kits he sends. You get good instructions, set up all the parts. Oh, I marked the smaller ball and the larger ball. I marked that in there. Pretty happy with how this turned out. Everything is very clean. I'm starting to put it back together now. So we'll see. I'm anxious to see what kind of difference we get here with the engine performance once this is rebuilt, because I've noticed I'm not quite happy, just a little stumble. So I'm hoping this ought to do it. So what this video is not is an instructional video on how to rebuild carburetors. I'm not doing that on this video. One of the things that carb cleaning does not address is any shaft play in your, this is your throttle valve. If there's a lot of movement in that valve on the shaft here, you're gonna have air sucking through there and you're not gonna have good control of your idle mixture screw. When you have air leaks, then you have a problem with controlling the amount of fuel when it's going through and where it's going. So I think that's ready to go back on. I just got to put a fitting in there. All right, before one of my loyal subscribers says anything, I will admit I did not walk you through on how to rebuild a carburetor. We just cleaned it and we got through it. I think I just ran out of patience and got it done. So, sorry. I've seen some people ask which side goes up, the copper side or the blue side of the gasket. If you look closely, when you put it on, it'll actually only line up one way. If you look at all the holes, these two holes right here in the center, they will not line up if it's backwards. I spray mine with a copper spray, well, three coats probably. Just helps with little imperfections. It's soft and it's tacky. And when you squish it down, it'll just help make sure everything seals well. All of my head bolts are getting Permatex high performance thread sealant, because it can actually allow coolant up past the threads and you can have a leak. All right, folks, so as you can see, the head is back on. I've just temporarily cranked down the bolts here, the light torque in the proper sequence, keep everything straight. And I will torque them down later. I've just laid my old spark plugs in there to keep anything from falling in the cylinders. I did put a little bit, about a cap full of Marvel Mist Oil in each cylinder. Why not? Give it a little lube. When it fires up, it'll smoke, but it's good for it. And I've got to go get a thermostat housing gasket. I thought I had one, I do not. So I think I'm gonna just wrap up the video here at this point, and there'll be a part 3. About a video edited out here for the week, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this does to my compression with the smaller combustion chamber. It's exciting. So get a new gasket and get rolling here over the weekend. Maybe we'll have some more videos next week. Thanks for joining me here on Keith's Garage. If you like what you see, please subscribe or hit like. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.